Hello, this is part 2 of the previous video on getting us ready for the value academic argument due October 2nd. So, as I said before, excluding the 2 discussion threads that are due, this is all we want to worry about. To recap briefly, you need to pick one of those topics. Please do not take days to do this. That will put you behind. And that's one thing that I think will be uncomfortable for you in this class. And I don't want you to feel overwhelmed. I want this to be manageable. And it will be if you do what Bossy Professor Hoffman says. Pick a topic. Now, we're doing academic arguments where we are proposing, claiming a proposition, and supporting it. It's a two-pronged gig. And as I also said, the 2 functions are to convince me of that claim and to teach me about the subject. Also, these are value. So while we will have some factual support in the paper, a lot of it will be through analysis. And that analysis will be appealing to what I value or not. So after you pick the topic, thing 2 to do is to start doing the research. And I want you to be methodical about this. And again, you will save an awful lot of time and have much, much better product if you start with a book. You need to kind of school yourself, learn yourself, edify yourself, educate yourself about your topic. Get a book that's as current as possible, written by an academic, PhD, somebody well-known, from a school well-known, with a well-known publisher if you can, and just dig in. Don't worry about things you don't understand. What you are looking for are either things that the author is saying that are positive about the topic, whatever it be. And I kind of gave you 2 examples already. Cosmetic surgery, negative. Rap music, positive. And I also want you to keep a list of negative things. And a good book will probably give you 15 to 16 positives and maybe 11 or 12 negatives or vice versa. In other words, for every source you read, you want to jot down whatever you are extracting. So I have written a list here of things that might, when you're reading, you can consider as positives, no matter what the subject is. And I'm going to be helping you all with this in the conferences that start next week. And I believe Jasmine and Margarita both are going to be posting on the 9th, early on the 9th, these sign-up sheets. So I will be talking to you at length. But for positive, I have about 15 different things. If something is popular, if something is not gender confining, we would value that. That would be a positive value. If something is influential, that's a value. Any artist that influences other artists is certainly legitimate and worthy of our notice. If something is aesthetically pleasing, if something is diverse, traditional, and also pay attention to this language. You have no idea how important the language is, particularly in a value paper. If you remember in George McKenna's abortion piece, whether you agreed with that argument or not, he was so good at using language with positive connotations, such as engagement on the topic, such as moral leadership, such as stewardship, that aligned with his particular argument. If it promotes engagement, that's positive. If it's transparent, if it's cruelty-free, if it's eco-friendly, if it's inclusive, if it's escapism, particularly now in this climate, I think if something offers escapism or almost a frivolous kind of quality, we could perceive that or argue that as a positive, depending on the analysis and the source you're using to that articulates this. if there's a precedent for it. If it prevents a climate of intimidation, we would like that. That's a positive. We value that. Or if it supports vulnerable groups, that's something we value. This is a value-centered paper. It's an academic argument. You're going to be supporting your claim with sources. We'll be using abstracts. We'll be using concrete details. But I am primarily, we want it top-heavy with value. You'll have facts and details and concrete incidents, whatever, but it will be top-heavy with the value. An example of negative values, if you read that it, for example, stereotypes, or if it's elitist, or if it's expensive, or if it promotes misogyny, or if it discriminates, or if it's fake news, if it promotes depression, if it promotes consumerism, if it's contentious. So many reality shows are contentious. I think you could do a fabulous value argument either way, depending on the current academic analysis you find. Does it promote people-pleasing, that accommodating? Is it less green? Is it difficult to objectify? Is it akin to moral authoritarianism? Not good. If it pushes people into poverty, we certainly don't value that. If it limits people's opportunities. So in this sheet, I have simply suggested about 15 different negative things, 15 different positive things. These are the kinds of things we're looking for. This is the kind of language we're looking for. So once again, you're picking a topic, you are getting a book, and once you choose your first source, hopefully, ideally this book, begin with starting your plus and your minus for whatever your topic is. Next, I'd like you to get a dissertation. That's step 3. So step 3 is pick the topic. Step 2 is get a book and start reading it and begin your plus and your minus list. And step 3 is to get a dissertation. And dissertations are very, very cool. They're written by people about your age to finish off their PhD. They're edgy. They're original. They push the envelope oftentimes. I really, really like them, and they will really enhance your paper. You have no idea how much better your paper will be. It is totally contingent on the quality of what you've read and how much you've read and the language that you pull and extract and use in your papers. Fourthly, and continue this punch list as you read, and not the entire thing, obviously, but you will find things that really catch your eye, that are stimulating to you. Get it on your list. Ultimately, I'd like about 10 pluses and 10 minuses for your topic based on these, say, 8 to 10 sources you get in the next 8 to 10 days. I want peer-reviewed journals. Peer-reviewed journals are done by PhDs on the bedrock of sometimes 50 or 60 other PhDs. They're the high point of academia, really. I mean, these are academic papers. Doesn't get much more intellectual. They will have, for example, if you find some journals, say, on accommodation in plastic surgery, that'd be absolutely fabulous. A lot of feminist journals, for example, will really explain how conformist plastic surgery is, how it conforms to the cultural beauty paradigm in Western culture, how it encourages and promotes women to be people pleasers and to give up their free agency and all this stuff. That's the kind of stuff I want. And then finally, a couple of magazine articles. So the idea is ultimately for these value papers, I'm only requiring 12 sources. I'd love about 15 or 20, no more than 20. Anything hitting between 15 and 20 is absolutely ideal. And making sure that we have the book and at least one dissertation. I'd love more than one if you can find some journals, magazine articles, even a few newspaper articles. I don't want anything else. Absolutely no websites, absolutely no TED Talks, blogs. Again, that stuff doesn't have the gravitas, the academic pedigree, the analysis, the language, all this, the development, all the stuff I really crave. When you come to your conference, I want typed these two lists, the plus and the minus for your topic. And I also want you to print out 2 of these journals, and in conference I'll explain to you why. I'm very interested in these journals. We're going to extract some of the language, and they'll be very, very useful. And then thirdly, I'm going to have you do an outline. And that outline will be pretty much based on your topic, your 2 punch lists, and the sources that you've collected. And hopefully, before I see you beginning Monday of next week, you'll have about 10 sources. So to kind of finalize here, you pick your topic, you start collecting your sources, and you get about 10 on each list. And then once we, as I just said, once we have this, then we're ready to kind of design the architecture. In other words, what goes where, what goes in the introduction, what goes in the conclusion, what goes, and we'll be able to do all of this with your topic, with your plus and your minus, and with your sources, printing out those 2 journal ones, printing them out. Then we'll be ready to get the blueprint for the paper. So I'll see you next time. I'm planning on posting this either tomorrow, which will be the 9th, or the 10th at the very latest. And having the architecture, what you might want to do to prepare yourself a little bit for this next video is to pull out the thesis sheet in handouts, the concession sheet, the body paragraph sheet, and the structure of the essay. There are 4 different sheets. That is the architecture. That is the pedagogy. In other words, that will be the formal design for these 10 paragraphs, where we will be using the sources that you've got to teach and to convince. I'll see you next time.